Make sure you follow me on social media to get updates and ask me questions. Enjoy the video. The new trend in applications nowadays is to use AJAX for pretty much everything. So we are going to change the login functionality in our application to use AJAX. Now we could change all our application into AJAX to transform the application to AJAX completely, but there are too many forms and the steps are the same and I don't want to repeat myself again and again. So before we start using AJAX, let me change the buttons for Logout. So I will open Tasks and Earnings. So these are the two pages that we have. So I will change this anchor text to input type submit. There is no need for name, we just need a value that says Logout. So the same one will be for the tasks. And yeah, we are now fine. So if I go back to this, let me log in, I will grab this user, log in. And as you can see now we have this logout button. And of course, if you click this, you are logged out. This will also fix a problem with logging out from the application. Now, to use AJAX, we have to pull jQuery. Actually, this is just one option. There are different ways and libraries to send an AJAX request, but it looks like a lot of people are still using jQuery. So I will go with jQuery just because there is a lot of support out there in case you have a problem and not because jQuery is the best option. So I will start by pulling jQuery from a CDN, of course, so CDN jQuery. Let me grab this one right here. So copy the minified version, and inside the login blade file, I will create a new section. So we have this section content, so I will create another one and call it scripts. So inside this section, I will paste the script, of course, so the src is this one. Now the current master file doesn't know about this section, so let's make sure we define it. So inside master blade.php, I will go down here before we close the body and I will say yield scripts. Now in my case, I'm calling jQuery only inside login. If you want this library to be called everywhere, then you can take it from here and put it inside the master file. So before we call scripts, so right there. So as I said, you can keep it here, and here you can have it globally in every view, or you can have it just for the login and have it here. But I guess that you want to change this application to AJAX, so yeah, in your case it might be better to keep it here. So I will just keep it here just to have it globally and every view will have access to jQuery. Now, by having the script that calls jQuery in the master file, inside the login now, this is pretty much empty. So what we can do here is to simply do the AJAX call. That's all. I will start by giving the form an ID. So this form has no ID, so let's give this an ID. The ID will be login-form. Okay, so this is step one. Now inside this script, we want to attach a handler. So on submit, we can take some actions. So let's get the login form, and then on submit, we want to do some stuff. First of all, I want to prevent the form from submitting itself, which as a result will reload the page. So in AJAX applications, we do not want that, the page reload. So we can get rid of it by preventing the default action. This has to be a function, and we need to get access to the event. Okay. So here now we can say event.prevent default, and this will pretty much not allow the browser to reload. So to make sure that all the changes work, let's simply alert a message and also double check that the form is not submitted with the default way. I will go back to the form. Let me grab the user and I will log in. Actually, let me refresh and log in now. As you can see, we get the alert, and if I click OK, the form is not submitted. Okay, so now let's make a post request and log in. So obviously we want to use AJAX. So we can very easily do this by saying $.ajax, and the type will be a post request, The login route, the URL will be /login. And because we are specifying the type, which is post, and the URL, which is login, it means that we can actually get rid of them inside the form right here. So there's no need for action and there is no need for method. So after that, we need the data that we want to post to the server. So I will say here data equals to post data. Actually, this is not an equal sign, this is a key value pair. Anyway, so now let's define this var post data. So this is an object, and we have an email, we have a password, and we also have the remember me. So to get the value for the email, well, we can again use jQuery for this. So remember that each of these inputs has a name. As you can see, the name for the email is email, for password is password, and for remember me is remember_me. So we can have access to them by saying input and then name equals to email. And we want to get the value of that. So I will copy this and do the same for the password. So here we have to, of course, change this to password. However, for the remember me, because this is a checkbox, not an input, we have to say, actually, let me paste this, and I will say here is, and then checked. And of course, change this to remember_me. So this post data will actually have all the values that we enter for email, password, and remember me. Now, regarding the names here, email, password, and remember me, make sure that they are email, password, and remember_me, because this is what the server expects. Otherwise, this will not work. Literally, this is all that you need. Of course, we still have to manage the result, the response, success or error, but in general, this is an AJAX request. So right now, I want to make sure that the server receives the AJAX request. So what I'm going to do is to clear the Laravel log. And before the try catch inside the login controller, not this one, the one that we have actually created ourselves. So login controller is right here. So before the try catch, what I'm going to do is to say log info, and we want to log the request. And of course, we have to say return just to stop the application and not continue. So I will save the file, I will go back to this, and let me refresh again. And before I press login, I will open the console, just because I know that this will not work. So if I press login, it looks like we try to send the AJAX request, but we're getting a 500 error, which means that the server received the request, which is good, because this is what we wanted, the server to receive the request. However, the server is complaining about the token, about the CSRF token. Because we are using AJAX, we can go to the form, to the login form, and delete the CSRF field from here. However, we need to declare it in the header. So in master file, right at the top, inside the header, I will create a new meta tag, CSRF token, and the content, CSRF token. Not field, because we are not creating an input, we just want the token. So this will include the CSRF token in the headers. Now, of course, inside the login file, we want to set up the AJAX to use that token in the header. So what I'm going to do is, before our login form submit, I will say here AJAX setup, and we want to change the headers. So X CSRF token. So this is the name, and this will be the value. So the value will be meta, and we want to, if you remember, we have a name for this meta field. Where is it? Right here, CSRF-token. So we can have access to that like that. And we want to get the attribute, the content attribute. because remember, this is where we have actually the token. So we want to get access to this content. And this is what we do here. All right, now let's go back, reload, and try this again. Okay, so use of undefined constant CSRF token, assumed CSRF token. It looks like we have an error, a small mistake. Let me double check this. Of course, this is a function, so make sure you have the parentheses. All right, back to this. Log in. And if I go back to the Laravel project and I open the Laravel log, it looks like we do not have the log. Let me see here. Okay, another mistake. I forgot the queue. Small mistakes. Try this again. And again, we do not have the log. So let me see the console. Another mistake, another spelling mistake. What is going wrong with me? All right, let me fix this quickly. So this is setup. I guess I have a very bad day today. Anyway, so if I try this again, hopefully the last time, we go to the log, and finally, after all these small spelling mistakes, all right, so we have the email, we have the password, and we have the remember me. And of course, if I click remember me and I click login, remember me now is true. So as a final result, we are getting the response to the server like we used to get it. So right now I will clear the log and I'm going to delete from the login controller the log and the return. Now, whenever you work with AJAX, you also need to make sure that the responses from the server are JSON. So in our case, we do not return JSON. However, this is not hard to do. So I will start from the case where the user enters wrong credentials, which is right here. So we have to convert this to JSON. So right now, if I try this, if I enter wrong credentials, nothing happens. So to fix this, we have to return JSON. So right here, we have to clear this and say response, we open parentheses and then JSON, and that is all. You just have to specify at the end the status code, which for this case is 500. If you do not specify the status code, then Laravel returns a 200 by default, but in our case the status code should be 500 since we have a wrong combination. So I will save this, and now we need to go back to the login view and handle success and error responses. Now, from your PHP knowledge, you already know that a 500 status code signifies an error and a 200 status code signifies success. So I will have success, which is a function, and this will accept a response back. And we also have error, which is another function that has access to response. So for now, I will just log the response. So if I go back to this, we already have the console ready. So if I enter wrong credentials, but before I do that, we have to refresh the page, of course. So wrong credentials, login, and as you can see, we get the response logged. The status is 500, and the response text, the response JSON actually, we have an error and it says wrong credentials, which is exactly what we return right here. So we used to display errors using Laravel in our login view, but now that we are using AJAX, this will not work anymore. So what I want to do is to delete the ifs and the session inside. The result is that alert danger and alert success will always be there, but that's fine for now. We just need to make sure that they are hidden at the beginning. So in order to make them hidden, we can actually use style, display, none. And the same one for the alert success. Display, none. So whenever we start the application, we do not see the alerts. And of course, if you delete this, you will be able to see them. For now, just the success because the alert danger is hidden. Okay, so let me bring this back, go back to this, hidden, perfect. Now, in this course, we are focusing on advanced authentication, so by having two empty divs in the HTML code is not even a problem, but you can use JavaScript or jQuery to make sure that you display these only when you have a success or fail message. So we know that in order to access the message, we can access the response JSON object and then the error, because if you remember, so we have response JSON and we have this error, and this error has the text, the string. So let's have access to this and display the error inside the alert danger. So what I'm going to do is to access the alert danger, and this is a class, so alert danger, and we want to have the text equal to response.response JSON.error. And of course we have to make sure that we show this alert danger, because whenever we start it is hidden. Just say show and it will be visible. Hopefully I do not have any spelling mistake again. So if I go back to this, reload, try to authenticate with the wrong credentials of course. We click login, and as you can see we just handled the error. And of course it says wrong credentials, which is pretty much the functionality that we had earlier. But now we just used AJAX for this and the page is not reloading. However, this is just for one error. If we go to the login controller, we still have two more. We have the exception that will ban us for a couple of seconds, and the other one for the account when it is not activated. So pretty much what we have to do is to copy this and paste it here. And that is all. We just took care of the errors. Now we need to take care of the redirections, because as you can see, we have one redirection here to the earnings and another one to the tasks. So what we have to do is to make sure that we return again a JSON response back. So what I'm going to do is to say response JSON. I will cut this and I will say here redirect, and then we paste that. And of course I will do the same for the tasks. So just paste that and change earnings to tasks. So these are the redirections. Now pay attention. I am not specifying the status code because by default it is 200. So in the login, this is translated to success. So what I'm going to do is to log the response. I will go back to this, I will copy the email, refresh the page, try to log in with correct credentials this time. We do not see any kind of result, and this is because we're actually banned. But actually this is good, because we see that this is not working. We should see the message right here inside the alert, but we do not. And this is because we do not have the status code. So the status code, because this is an error, so the status code here should be 500. And for this one, 500 as well. So if I go back to this, I refresh, we log in with correct credentials, you can now see the error. But as I said, I do not want to get banned for now. So what I'm going to do is to go to the throttle and I will delete everything. Well, we could just empty the table, but yeah, anyway. So if I go back to this now and we log in, you see that we get this redirect tasks, and this is because this is what we actually did here. We logged the response. So what we have to do now to redirect the user is to get this /tasks, which is the URI. Now, of course, if I refresh, we are already authenticated, so we can go to tasks and this will work. So now I will log out and I want to handle this using JavaScript. So we have to say here window.location.href equals to response.redirect. So I will save, I will go back to this, refresh and log in for the last time. And we are authenticated successfully using AJAX. Now everything is set up and you can go on and convert the whole application to AJAX. All you need is pretty much this amount of AJAX code. And everything will be pretty much similar to this. For example, you just have to change the post data to the one that you actually have to send to the server, and you have to set the URL to the correct one, to the one that you want to use, and probably the success. We can now say with confidence that this advanced authentication course in Laravel using Sentinel is over. At this moment, I am working on a new course where we are going to build a package similar to Sentinel, the one that we have been using up to now. So I want to thank all of you for the support in this course, and I will see you in the next one.